Yeah.
So,
And that's another thing I wanted to mention from your interviews that I saw. So after being shot in the face, the Capitol Police actually pulled you behind the barrier to administer aid, allegedly. But I know you didn't get any of that aid. And from there, you ended up actually walking around to the other side of the Capitol where there was another
right.
protest happening, right?
Yes. Well, they offered me aid 3 or 4 times, but I was like, no, I'm here on a mission from God. Like the Blues Brothers. Like I'm on a mission from God. I'm not abandoning my post. But after about the third or fourth time, I started getting dizzy because I'd lost a tremendous amount of blood, probably quart and a half, 2 quarts, like a lot. Like I was about to pass out, and it wasn't my sugar because I checked it and it was all right. It was a little high, but it wasn't like it was fine.
Well,
Like
yeah, when you get hurt in the head, you always bleed a lot, so you lose a lot of blood, especially when you have a straight up open wound in your mouth. I could imagine.
well, you should have
But
seen the
before we,
blood in the
sorry.
You should have seen the blood that I spit out because I spit 3 or 4 times when it first happened, and it was
Right.
like mouthful, like it was a lot of blood. But I
So
started getting dizzy, and then when the cop offered me aid, I was like, I kept saying I'm with them, meaning the Trump supporters, like I didn't mean the violent people,
right.
but I was like, I'm with them. And then finally, I started getting dizzy, and I felt like I was going to pass out, and I knew it wasn't my sugar. So I have a lot of experience with passing out, So I knew like I'm pretty close to passing out. I better go get some aid, or I'm like I could wind up because in a crowd like that, you get stomped on,
Right.
So I was like, all right, fine. And then when they let me back there, he was like, hey, go talk to that person over there, and they'll help you. So I walked over there, and then the guy in charge walks over and says, arrest that blankety blank. And this tiny little girl, about 5'1", about 80 pounds, she's like, I'm going to arrest you. I'm like, you're not going to arrest me. I didn't say that, but I was thinking, the only way you're arresting me is because I'm letting you. Like there's no
Right.
way she could have done it if I had, but I just
Yeah.
put my hands behind my back. I was like, well, what God's got a plan. I don't know what it is, but and then the dude that got me back there that let me through the gate thing, the fence or whatever, the bike racks,
Yeah.
he runs over there and says, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. He didn't break through. I sent him back here for medical treatment. And the guy was like, well, get him the F out of here. He's like, and he walks me over to the edge and he's like, hey, sorry, dude, man. Like, it's crazy out here. I said, hey, man, we're praying for you. Like, I was like, I don't want to hurt you. Like, we back the blue. Like, we're Trump supporters. He's like, I know, man. And he's like, hey, go talk to that guy. And so I got through that there was a protester. And I went and talked to that guy. And he's like, well, I'm not a medic. So the guy just got me out of there. They lie.
Yeah.
So somebody wound up like, because every 2 feet there would be 4 people say, oh, you need medical, you need, like, you better do something, man. You're going to have a scar. I'm like, chicks dig scars, like, but then finally somebody had some hemostat, like they kept trying to pull them out with tweezers and it was not working. And it was just digging in. And I was like, dude, this hurts way too much. If you can't get it out, just stop. He's like, no, I can't get it out. And then I said out loud, I said, hey, if there's any potheads around here with some hemostats, that would work. And some dude was standing there like, yeah, man, I got some hemostats. And I was like, so he click, 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 and just pulled it right out. And I was like, oh, thank God for the potheads.
Right.
Like, but he pulled it out. And anyway,
So
but
I want to talk about leading up to you being shot. So you went to the Trump rally. You couldn't get in, obviously, because you had a knife on you, which is understandable at a presidential rally. But I believe people should have the right to arm themselves with whatever. Which I saw in a previous interview. Someone in court had said that the Second Amendment is not related to knives; it's only related to firearms.
what my lawyer told me.
That's what your lawyer told. That's absolutely. So I have a story about that as well. I'll go and do real quick. I was almost fired from the grocery store I worked at simply because I had a knife on me on my holster, and they told me that if I continued to wear it, that they would fire me. And I brought the point up to them. I can't have a knife on me, but we have the people working in the produce section that have a knife that is 6 inches long, and they have it in an unsecured holster. I can walk up and slip it out as easy as like the flick of my hand. So they can
Right.
have that on them, but I can't have one that's literally buttoned and secured to my pocket.
Right.
So
Well, I asked my lawyer. I was like, hey, okay, so if I broke into your house with a knife, would you say that I broke into your house armed?
right, no, that's exactly. They wouldn't say you're unarmed. They at that point they wouldn't say. So that's just a ridiculous argument. Ridiculous. So you go to the Capitol. Obviously, you can't get in because you have a knife on you. You have a very important knife on you, so you're not going to get rid of it, which is I completely understand. So you end up walking, walking around. You find yourself at the Capitol. How do you end up at the front of the crowd?
I was one of the first ones there.
Yeah.
Like, because I was on a mission from God. I didn't know what I was doing, but He said go to the Capitol, so I was going to the Capitol.
Well, and you heard people talking about rioting at the Capitol too. You heard people saying storm the Capitol, so you're like, oh, I better go there, right? Because you wanted to protect people.
Yeah. Well, my original thought was that they were going to see the fraud and they were going to overturn the election, and then all the BLM and Antifa people were going to like go in there and start smashing people.
Another summer of love.
Another song, yeah, because that's what I've been watching on TV for like 2 years. So that's what I was expecting. So I was there to help defend the Capitol in my mind. Like I was going to do what God told me to do, but I wasn't. He never said what to do. It was like He only gives you a step at a time, and if you don't listen, then He won't give you step 2. You know what I'm saying? But step 1 was getting there, and I did that. So once I got there and wound up, but anyway, I saw some like instigators like getting into it with the cops, and I was like, this ain't cool. Like, this ain't what we're about. So I got up there, tried to get in between them, and I stopped a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of, like, it happened 4 or 5. It wound up, by the time I left the front where I was, it was relatively peaceful, because there was one guy, he had 2 people in front of him. He reached up, and the cops had like a plastic face mask. You could grab it on the bottom. But the guy reached up and grabbed his face mask and yanks him into the crowd, and then he backs up, and the cop, his head's down and he can't see, so he starts swinging his baton and hits the people in front of that dude. He's got 2 people in between him and the cop. So he grabs the guy, yanks him into the crowd like hard, like almost knocked over. He hits those 2 guys, and he pushes off and starts swinging because he thinks it's that guy did it. So now that guy's getting beat up by the cop, so he pushes the cop, and now he's in trouble for assaulting an officer. When he had nothing to do with it, the cop hit him for nothing.
Yeah.
But that guy, and they kept doing it. I started noticing it. These people they're picking fights with cops, and then they're backing up, or they'll push a cop over like this, and then he'll beat on the guy in front of him, and they they were trying to get something started.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I called him out. I said, hey, this guy's Antifa.
Yeah.
And he's like, crap. So like he wound up slithering away and going like about 30 feet to my right. I couldn't do nothing about that, but 30, 40 feet over and started doing it over there, but I couldn't do nothing about it. But it happened a lot. People they would, like, I saw this one guy, he's wearing a blue sweatshirt with a red shirt underneath it. And he would go up to the cops, and he had his hands like this, and he was like fake fighting them. He was like, and I looked at him, I've seen the video of it, and I'm like, that's so retarded. Like, and this guy was instigating. I don't know who he is, but this guy was instigating the whole time he was there. Yeah. He was trying to get things started, A
lot of people talk about that. A lot of people talk about stuff like that. There was a lot of instigators and agitators there. Like 95% of the crowd, maybe 99% of the crowd was there to be peaceful, but there was people in the crowd trying to agitate people, trying to get them riled up and try to get them to push in further past the cops. And that's ultimately what ended up happening, right? Because I know from previous interviews, I'll let you talk about it. So you're helping people where you can. You get to the front of the crowd. You're protesting. You're looking around for what you need to do next. You get hit in the face. What happens following that?
Well, my bell got rung, and it knocked me kind of stupid for a minute. Because somebody asked me a question. I was like, God bless America, blood, sweat, and tears. I got my bell rung pretty hard, because it knocked me all the way around. Like, it turned my feet. You know what I'm saying? And I thought I got hit with a baton, so I threw my hand up to defend, and I look around, there's nobody standing there, and I couldn't understand it. And then I started spitting blood, and I felt something caught on my lip. You know how you spit, and there was something caught on my lip, and I was like, oh man, they knocked my tooth out. I was like, oh man, this is going to cost a fortune. So I grab it, and it was a clear piece of plastic, and I was like, well, it didn't make sense, because like my brain wasn't working completely at the time, because so I'm looking at him like, well, this don't make any sense. And then that blue sweatshirt dude grabbed me by the arm, like violently, and drags me. He's like, they shot him in the effing face. They shot him in the effing face. And I'm over there like, what's like, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's instigating the crowd. So I yanked my hand away. I said, whoa, 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 man. Like, nah, dude, like, just chill out, you know? And I wasn't really like, I was kind of out of it there for a minute, but once the blood quit pouring out, somebody gave me some gauze or something. I stuck it on the inside. And, I mean, it was a lot of spitting blood. Somebody gave me a water bottle and, I was spitting in that because there's feet everywhere. I didn't want to spit on blood on people, you know?
Yeah.
So started spitting in that bottle and I filled it up like halfway. And there was already like a cord on the ground, you know? So, and then after that, the cop finally, third or fourth time, was like, you need medical? I was like, yeah, I do. Cause I was getting kind of tipsy, you know?
So
Felt like I was drunk, you know?
Do you feel like that guy was trying to instigate the crowd? He was trying to use you as a pawn to be like, look at this guy. We need to attack now.
Well, that exact same dude, I've seen him in probably 10 minutes of video starting fights. And he did it the same way. He put his hands up like this and he'd go up to the cops and he'd just wiggle his elbows back and forth, you know, and like, he just kept doing that.
Yeah,
he'd go up to the front, like he was trying to get them to push him so he could, when he got pushed, he would hit the people behind him and then be like, can you believe they did that to you? That kind of thing. He was, you know, stirring it up, trying to get it started.
Yeah.
And that's all he did the whole time he was out there. And then when he grabbed me by the arm, I didn't know that at the time. He was just a dude. But he was like, they shot him in the effing face. They shot him in the effing face. Look at this. And I'm over there like, you know, it's kind of nice being the center of attention for a minute. And then I realized, wait a minute, this ain't godly. This ain't.
Yeah, you realized what he was doing. You're like, no, that's not the way.
Right. Because there were evil spirits there. And it was easy it was like people that didn't go there with the intention of being violent, that wound up getting violent. It would have been easy to do that. If I hadn't have been praying and fasting, I probably would be in there for a lot worse stuff. Yeah. I mean, because it was the momentum, the crowd mob mentality was very, very strong. It was hard to not get drawn into it.
Especially when people are agitating in the front, trying to start fights and getting other people to get hurt. It's definitely going to agitate the crowd.
Well, the ones that were doing it were experienced and they knew exactly what they were doing.